Hello everyone, so I'm going to be doing a video today. I'm going to share some bad news. Um, the reason why I am waiting a little bit longer to share it because it was a little bit harder for me to deal with in comparison to my grandfather, but on December 1st I took my cat Tigger, my eldest cat, to the vet and he had to be euthanized. Tigger was my grandfather's cat originally, and my grandfather, as you know, died on October 13th. Since then, Tigger mentally went downhill. He did try to go into his room a couple of days after my grandfather passed away, but as soon as he got to the threshold, he peed himself. And yes, he was a 14-year-old cat, but he was never incompetent like that, never. And he stayed downstairs for a very, very long time. Whenever November came around, that was when he was upstairs, but he spent all of his time in my room. Either my room or the living room. Excuse me. So, Halloween. I was supposed to go to a Halloween party at my friend's. I didn't go because I was not in a good headspace. I was still dealing with everything regarding my grandfather and dealing with people as well, not about the death and everything. And so I didn't go. Luckily, my friends understood. There's always next year. But he was outside. He was the only outdoor cat that we had. The other four are indoor. And Tigger, he was an outdoor cat. He needed to, well, he went outside and then he came in, of course. He never stayed outside all night, but he went out and there were fireworks and everything like that, and he came in to my room and I noticed that because my salt lamp was on, and I noticed that there was his mouth was very shiny, and I thought, what the heck happened to him? So I checked him and his lip was bleeding, like near his mouth, and I thought he probably cut himself on a thorn, because he's done it before, because he has a habit of biting rose bushes ever since he was very, very young. So I treated him. I cleaned the wound with salt and everything like that, and I just let it heal, and I didn't let him go outside for a couple of days after that in case it got infected, and he was okay. And then the last week or so in November, his mouth, this side of his mouth, the right side of his mouth, was just out, and he was bleeding a lot, and his teeth were falling out. His teeth were falling out for a little bit because he's old. It was natural, and we thought, oh, maybe it's because he's losing teeth, because your gums hold a lot of blood, but it wasn't. I noticed it was bad whenever there was a smell, and the smell was like period blood, but worse. It was awful, and I washed him in the shower, because he tried to clean himself, all that stuff. But I called the vet, and I explained to them that there's something wrong with his mouth, it's bleeding on the inside and everything like that, and he's eating and he's drinking and all that stuff, and they were happy with that. Even though his mouth was bad, he was still eating, and I was making sure he was eating. We were giving him pate and things like that, and the only reason why the vet that took his appointment did not book me in for that day was because he was eating and drinking as normal. But I explained to her that when he was 3, he was run over by a car and he was kicked by that same person. We don't know who it was, but and he ended up having a fractured skull and a broken jaw. Broken jaw I'll get to in a minute. broken leg and fractured broken ribs, and I think he had a ruptured diaphragm as well. But he was 3 at that time, and then he was, 11 years he lived with it. And whenever his jaw was broken, instead of having a tendon, the vet replaced it with a wire. And as soon as I said that to her, I thought to myself, I wonder if it's the wire causing that much bleeding, because if you have a wire in your mouth and your gums, of course it's gonna cause a lot of bleeding. And I thought that I was a complete idiot because I didn't think of that before. Like, it never occurred to me about, like, him having a broken jaw when he was younger. So we took him to the vet. He went on a bus, first time ever on a bus. Absolutely fantastic. The smell was getting worse because you can smell on the bus. We took him in, and that morning was December 1st. I did cry in the shower a little bit because I had an inkling, what if this is his last day with us, what if, because I did have a feeling, because he was old and stuff, or, I thought, well, I worked at a cattery in, from March to April, and they had a lot of elderly cats. There's a cat there named Gigsy. She's 23, and she's still, I had a little bit of hope, but, I swallowed my pride. It took us a long time getting him into the carrier. I took him in, and the vet said, okay, so I'm judging by, what you told us the previous day, what can happen is, because he had that injury so long ago, he said that cats can suffer from, like a trauma related, let's say they break a leg or something, like that injury can kind of go like this and rub on itself and for over years and years and years and years, and that can cause problems in the future. And that could be what it was. But he looked into his mouth, and we told him that he had gone downhill since my grandfather died. And he said, with any luck, maybe it's, just his bone that's protruding. He looked in his mouth, and he had cancer. And I never, ever thought that would be it. The vet said that they could have done a surgery where they saw the jaw in half and they kind of break it like this to remove the tumor. He had 2 tumors growing side by side, and he wouldn't have survived it. So, and he lost a lot of weight, even though he was eating, he was drinking. And he said that you could spend, you could take him back home and spend one night with him. And I said, no, I just do it now, because if I brought him home, I wouldn't have been able to bring myself to take him down. Knowing that, we had to sign to get him put down. And I was gonna go by myself, but my grandmother was in a lot of pain with her legs, and she has osteoporosis. And I had a feeling that I asked her, can you just come down with me? Because if the bad thing happens, I don't think I'll be able to go home on a clear, with a clear head. And she went with me, and I'm really happy that she did. But they gave him the drug. He was so skinny, the vet didn't even need to find his liver. That's how thin he was, even though he was eating and he was drinking. And the vet said it'll take about 10 to 15 minutes for the barbiturate to kick in. As soon as the needle came out, he immediately started. And they picked him up. He picked him up and took him to another room, and I sat on a chair. He was on a vet table, about was the room that was free, and I kind of used him as a pillow. He didn't, pass away immediately, but I saw him, like, he was getting sleepy, and I had my head on his body, and my head was up and down, and then all of a sudden my head went up and it didn't go back down again. Luckily, I did an assignment on euthanasia in animal care, like, I think it was back in January, February time, so I had an idea about their eyes staying open, which it can be quite unnerving a little bit, because especially if you're trying to explain it to a child, they're sleeping, whenever their eyes are open, it kind of ruins that fantasy. And I forget what it's called, but it's when they go like this, and there's all of the air expelling from the lungs, and my grandmother thought that he was breathing, and I said, no, that's normal, because I was glad I did know that, because then I would have been the same way, but it was actually quite loud, all of a sudden he just goes, but it was weird being on, like, sitting, like, he wasn't a cuddler cat, but I would put my head on his stomach, and he'd either go when he didn't want it, or he'd purr, and it was so weird not hearing anything. It was weird not feeling a heartbeat or hearing a heartbeat. But this is the first time I've ever actually had to put an animal down. And I know for a fact that it was because of my grandfather. If my grandfather was still alive, so would a Tigger. And the reason why it hit me so hard, it hit me harder than my grandfather, is because I was with him when he died. I was with Tigger. I held him whenever he took his last breath. But not only that, but like whenever my grandfather died, I was in the car with my friends talking. But my grandfather went from healthy to dead in 11 years. Tigger went from healthy to dead in 1 month. 1 month. So it's just, and the fact that it happened so soon, it's just after my grandfather, it was just, I just want 2019 to be over. That's what I want. It was been one of the worst years of my life so far. One of them. But that's the whole year, not just the end of the year. The whole year was horrible. But whenever we came home, well, I wrapped him up first of all. We brought a towel and we had to leave him on the vet table. And I wrapped him up in the towel. And I made sure I left his head that way he could breathe. I don't know why. I didn't want him getting cold either, but he was getting colder and colder. It was actually quite weird how fast the body goes cold. It was really strange. But we decided to get him cremated rather than buried, because his ashes can go beside my grandfather's, and there's gonna be a box, and he's gonna have his name on it and his birthday. His birthday is the 7th of August 2005. And that is his birthday. Like, my other cats have birthdays. Theo's is September 7th. Timothy's is April 12th. Bruce's April March 13th, and Athena is June 20th, but they're all roughly estimates. They're rough estimates. Tigger's birthday is his birthday because he was my cat's kitten. G had 2 kittens, Sasha and Tigger. Tigger was born first, and then whenever he was 12 weeks, he went to live with my grandmother. So I've been with him since he was teeny tiny. I was with him before he even developed his stripes. It's weird not having people, especially like during Christmas time now, because I came to terms with my grandfather not being there, and because like you become numb, because my grandfather was sick for so many years. It just became like, oh, what else is wrong with him now? You know, it just became a routine for something to be wrong with my grandfather. But with Tigger, like, he was fine and he was dead, you know? And he was just so small and so frail, and he was so gentle whenever he passed, even though he was in so much pain. You know, and he really loved my grandfather, and that's why, like, he was ready to go. His body was tired, and his soul was ready to go. So he went, and I got them all bowls for Christmas with their names on them, and at that time they were not dispatched yet, and I didn't know whether to cancel Tigger's, but I decided to keep it. Hasn't arrived yet. I will be doing a video on what I got them for Christmas. I was going to do what I got my friends for Christmas, but I thought that would be a wee bit too personal, and I wanted them to like kind of open it. And I think it would be more fun to do my cats anyway. But when it comes to the house, like the dynamics, like how the other cats have reacted. Theo has known him the most, because she's been here the longest. I remember whenever Theo first arrived, she tried so hard to be his friend, like so hard, and she would always get so upset when he didn't want to play with her. And you know, whenever she was a wee bit older, I then adopted Bruce, and Bruce gave him his personal space. Bruce was very respectful. Timothy gave him personal space as well, but Tigger was just not tolerant. The only cat he was tolerant of was Athena, because Athena, she would try to sit. I remember she sat on him like with her bum like up against him. Trying to find it, but like those wee photos. You have that one there. And then I have this one with his tongue sticking out. My beautiful boy. One thing he loved me cupping his face like that. And he still let me do that even though he had that horrible disease. And it was the same thing that took my grandfather too. He had cancer as well. And I don't wish that on anyone, whether to suffer from it or to lose someone from it. Let me see if I can find it. This was the 29th of October. Oh yeah, and his mouth has always been like that. See the little tooth? That's with the wire. He's always had a protruding tooth. He still had, that was the one tooth that like stayed, like out of all the teeth that didn't fall out. I'm trying to find. That was him sitting on me on the I had a pillow and he sat on the pillow the day of my grandfather's funeral. That was Timothy. I'm trying to find the photo of Athena, like, up against him, because he was very tolerant of her. She was the only one he was tolerant of, and I always found that quite. There it is. There, found it. 20th of October. That was taken. Look, see. And that's him waking up like, her bum's in my face. But Theo, when we came home, she didn't leave any of our sides. Theo has always been very picky about people. When she was younger, she would smack my grandparents a lot. Like, she hated my grandfather, and I don't know why, but she'd always hit him, especially whenever he snored or whatnot. And the same thing goes for my grandmother. But she has become so gentle with my grandmother now. So gentle, like exposing her belly and chirping at her and just being kind to her. But that was when I came home and she sat on my knee. I mean, she was very inquisitive. And then Bruce and Tim was humping Bruce. And that is a dominant thing. And now that Tigger the alpha has died, Timothy is letting Bruce know that he's now the boss, because Bruce would be the only one to challenge that, because he is the only other male. So that happened. They haven't done it since, and since that, every time Timothy goes near Bruce in any way, Theo smacks someone. So, don't touch my child. But the biggest transformation out of the four of them would have to be Athena. Because Athena wasn't really a human cat, she was more of a feline cat. She didn't have a mama, so she never really had a cat family. Timothy was the very first cat to ever groom her, never clean her and everything like that, never, ever be kind to her, so he's like her daddy to her, and they are very, very close. They're still close to this day, but she was more Timothy's cat than mine. But since Tigger passed away, I don't know whether it's just a coincidence that she has finally trusted us. I don't know. She got flea treatment the day he passed away. I don't know whether she had fleas, but I just treated her anyway, and whether or not, she's not bothered by them anymore. I don't know whether it's because she knows that one of them's gone, because, whenever my grandfather died, she didn't really care, because, she slept through the whole thing, and I think because she's more of a cat, she's more feline, friendly than human friendly. I think whenever Tigger died, one of her own passed away, and so she felt it, and she knew that we were upset, and then she was like, I'll give you comfort. But since then, she's been snuggling with me, she's been purring, she's been willingly sitting on my knee, which she's never really done. She's been sleeping on me, she's been playing, she's been very friendly, she's been approaching as well rather than running away, whenever I call her and whenever I do this with her, all that stuff. But all of them haven't left my side. They didn't leave my side at all whenever December 1st all 4 of them slept with me. That night I was sandwiched. But yeah, I don't know what's been going on, but like yesterday and today I've just been very low, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about him. He's not home yet either. His little box not home yet. And I want him to be home in time, but I remember my grandmother was like, oh, I don't know when to put up the Christmas tree. And I said put up the Christmas tree because 1, Grandma would want you to. 2, it's Timothy's first Christmas with us, with his new family. 2, it's Bruce and Athena's first ever Christmas. Bruce being even lucky, and Athena, both of them being very lucky that they've even made it to their first Christmas, especially Bruce, because as y'all know, he had head trauma, and he was starved, Athena just didn't have a mother, but like the best mother for a feline is another, the best mother for a kitten is their mother, but she was hand reared instead. That's what's called a neonatal whenever they need a human stand-in for their feline mother. But and then I said, Tigger's 14, I told her I don't want to be a downer, but this might be his last Christmas. And he didn't even make it to this Christmas, so you know what I mean. And like I'm a little bit on edge with people now. Like, I'm trying to cherish people. Like, earlier I made cookies and I accidentally squished some and I almost cried over it because they were special cookies and I made them specially for people, and that mean a lot to me, and I squashed them. And one of my friends is like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it does matter because I ruined them. So everything's like going over the bloody edge for me, almost grinning over cookies. I made peppermint chocolate cookies. So they taste nice. And I know that like they wouldn't care how they looked, but I squashed them, and it just everything's been setting me off lately, emotionally. For yesterday and today. So I think like before, whenever with my grandfather, when I did the update video, the same thing happened. Everything was triggering me. So I think hopefully now that I have it all out in the open, hopefully I can calm down a little bit and I can kind of, because I don't really have anything to take my mind off of things. I'm kind of annoyed that I have Christmas sorted, because at least if you can't cry if you're too busy fretting over Christmas presents, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of upset that like I got my presents wrapped on Halloween. That's what I was doing Halloween night. I was wrapping presents. So yeah. Once their bowls have arrived, I will show you them and I'll show you their toys. Now their toys are already open because they couldn't wait, but I'll still show you them anyway. They just won't be in the original packaging, but hey ho. And I'll let them play with them a wee bit more. That way I can, say which one's is the favourite, which one is a specific favourite of only one cat. What do I have? I never used at all, so look forward to that. It'll depend on when it's gonna be here, obviously. But yeah. And before I go, I'll show you my nails. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's chocolate. It's cocoa powder. Oh yeah, another thing too. I burnt my thumb. I cooked chicken noodle soup, and I lifted the pot, and the steam just went. Yeah, it burnt like the rest of my hand too, like right here, here, and here. But this has been the worst. So that was last week. It's getting all wrinkly now, like what? But these are my nails for this week. Well, for this Christmas. I'm not getting them done again until January 9th, but on my thumb I have green. On my pointer finger I have like this orangey goldy reddy kind of color, and it has like a cat's eye. My middle finger I have green tartan. My ring finger I have orangey tartan, and then on my pinky I have like a brighter sparkly red. So yeah, they're Christmassy without it being very stereotypical, but I really like them. So yeah, I think they're really pretty. But I am excited for Community Day. I'm trying to boost myself a little bit more because I don't want to be miserable around people and sucking out their energy, because I don't want to be a sponge for that. So I don't know whether I'll do a video on that. I might do a video what I caught rather than me catching them, because like, yeah, I'd rather just focus on catching them. But or I might do a video on the Christmas market at least as well, show you, because obviously not all of the people that watch me live in Northern Ireland, so you've obviously never been, so that'll be kind of interesting. But I'm sorry about this depressing video, but I thought, YouTube is about my life and that this is what's happened, and I just hope that nobody else bloody well dies before 2020. How many days do we have? Like 15? Wait a minute. What day is the day? 12? We have like 2 weeks. Yeah. Nobody is allowed to die for another 2 weeks. No, I'm not dealing with it. Because I won't even cry. I'm just like, we're like, really? You couldn't have waited until the 1st of January. But hey ho. I will see you in my next one, which will be a lot, happier and uplifting. But right now, I can't, that's the way cookie crumbles. So I will see you in my next one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. Bye, everyone.